Hello YouTube, Bookie is back. And you know what I'm here with? A book review for the book Every Thug Needs a Lady by Wahida Clark. I am ready to tell you what I think. Get ready. Number one, Wahida Clark. I would love to know, do men like Trey, Kaylin really exist? Because in my when I have tried to find out, it has been hard, and it's hard for me to believe that drug dealers who have a lot of women chasing them will be willing to settle down, both of them with one woman. Well, in the story, Trey, he's with Roz, aka Tasha, her middle name, and Kaylin, he's with Angel. I just couldn't believe that these two guys, both of them friends, were willing to settle down with these two women. Now, picking up from the last book that I read, which was called Thugs and the Women Who Love Them, you remember I told you that the story mentioned 4 women, but in my last book review, I only mentioned 3 of them, and their names were Angel, Roz, and Kyra. I'm sorry, I said the wrong names. In the first book, Wahida Clark talks about Kyra, Jazz, and Angel, not Roz. Roz is mentioned, but it's not a storyline with her in the book. She's mostly mentioned in the second book. So I meant to correct that. Sorry. And I also made the mistake of saying toward the end of my review that Kaylin and Trey are not well-to-do. They are well-to-do. The way that I was trying to make them seem different from Angel and Tasha is that they sell drugs for a living, whereas these women are in college to become something. So I would not say that they are not well-to-do men. They just did not get their money honestly. So I wanted to correct that part. Okay, let's get back to my review. Bye. In the beginning of the story, at a baby shower, I believe it's, let me get it right. Who baby shower was it? It was Kyra's baby shower. Rosalind opens up about her past. Let me read you the notes that I wrote down. Rosalind tells her friends about Nakaya. That's one of the things she does. Nakaya is her ex-boyfriend. He's locked up. She tells them basically that when she goes to the prison to see him, another girl is there to see him and she's pregnant. She goes off and she basically breaks up with him because she knows that he has cheated on her and she's ready to call it quits. Then she brings up about when she was younger, how she sucked dicks to get high, how her parents used to sell drugs, and then they became addicted. And at some point in her life, she had 2 brothers and 1 sister. One of her brothers named Antone was murdered by a guy that came by her house to pick up some her parents' house to pick up some drugs. And her brother thought he lost the drugs. Come to find out that their mother had smoked the drugs. And the man, he was so mad, he just killed her brother. So, like I said, she had 2 brothers and 1 sister. One of her brothers ended up dead. Her sister, her other brother, and her, they ended up going into foster care. Let's see. Then she gets into talking about Nakaya's friend, or so-called friend, Trey. Trey, in this story, he's the guy that Nakaya sends to basically watch over Rosalind or Tasha. See, she all right. He takes her money. But Nakaya, as it was stated in the book, he was stupid for allowing Trey to look after Rosalind because they end up falling in love. You know, let's see. Go to my notes. They end up falling in love, but as with every story, different events happen. I remember at one point in the story, Trey and Roz, they go on a trip to Cali, and she finds a woman's number in his phone. And the woman, she knows the woman. The woman's name is Karina, someone that she went to school with. She acts a fool, getting mad at Trey, thinking he's cheated. And the number was just there. He was not doing anything. Rosalind, she automatically assumes he's cheating, so you know how some men are. They got to get back at you by giving you the silent treatment. And he gives her silent treatment for a while, but they get back together. Okay, let's see. At some point, Kyra and Marvin, they have a baby named Aisha Nicole. Then, at another point in the story, is when Angel meets Kaylin, Trey's friend, at a club called Club Infinity. At some point, Kaylin asks Angel to go out on a date, and then he takes her to his house to have sex. See, the reason why I put this in my review is because Angel, she's all about, you know, protecting. Well, she's not a virgin, but she's all about not giving it away too quickly. And at some point, she, you know, like a lot of guys do, he pushes her into having sex with him. Now, he doesn't use her. He ends up taking care of her, and, you know, like a guy should. And that's what I found crazy about this story. Like, how could these guys have so many women and then decide to settle down with one woman? But anyway, continuing on, Kaylin has a birthday party, and there at his birthday party is his sister, Tamara. Tamara is mentioned in the story that she acts like a bitch. You know why she acts like a bitch? Because Tamara and Trey used to date. And I believe they broke up because she killed his baby. You know, aborted the baby. And that's why they broke up. But anyway, at Kaylin's party, old girlfriends show up for them from their past. And guess who else shows up? Nakaya. He's out of prison. And he ends up getting his ass kicked by Trey, Kaylin, and their posse. Because he walks over to Rosalind while they're at Kaylin's party, and he kisses her, and he kisses her so bad till it feels like he's sucking the skin off her body, or off her neck. And this makes her pick up a bottle and bust her upside the head. He retaliates by choking the hell out of her. And you know, Trey there, he go handle his business. So they end up, him and his boys end up beating Nakaya up. This makes Rosa hysterical because she's like, oh, please stop him. Kaylin, go stop before he kills him. But anyway, just beat him up. And, you know, she calms down. Until one day she receives a call from Nakaya's mother saying that his body was found beaten to death in a dumpster. Someone took a blunt object and just beat him in the head. And this just makes Rosa so hysterical because she feels like Trey is going to eventually wind up in prison, or Nakaya's boys are going to come after him. You know, at some point she becomes pregnant for Trey. And eventually she loses the baby. But I'm going to get back to her pregnancy. Anyway, like I told you, she gets hysterical because when she finds out Nakia is dead, she thinks Trey has murdered him. So she does all she can to get away from him. She changed the locks on the house that he pays for. She ends up changing shifts at her job so he cannot get into contact with her. But one day at Angel's graduation party, Trey shows up. And she tries to get away again. You know what? I ain't gonna say again. She tries to get away from him because she did not think he would show up to Angel's graduation party with Caitlin. But this, if you read the story, you'll see how they tricked Angel into believing that they was not gonna show up. But eventually, Caitlin and Trey show up. Angel is there along with her friend Tasha. Tasha tries to get away by hurrying up in her vehicle, to rush off. But Trey catches her. And this is the funny part of the story. This is when I really started loving the story. He ends up shooting a hole in her tire. And this is what stops her from running away. And like a lot of couples, they eventually end up making up and they get married in Jamaica. Let's see. Okay, next part of the story. Wahida Clark is explaining Caitlin and Angel, they are having sex. And this girl, Brittany, calls one of his exes and says that she is pregnant. And for some reason, I don't understand why this didn't bother Angel, because you with this guy, you already know he has one son named Malik, I believe. And now you getting you hear this call with this girl claiming that she's also pregnant for Caitlin. She just basically gets up and tells him to handle his business. They're still cool. And that's the end of that scene. But this is when the book really hits a turning point. One day after eating Tasha's food and lovemaking, Trey tells Tasha that he has to leave. He gives her a briefcase that contains all the titles, properties, cars, bank statements, PIN numbers, combinations to all the safes, everything. And she's hysterical because she's like, what's going on? Why are you leaving? We are married. I'm pregnant. Why are you leaving? And also, he leaves with Caitlin. Angel and Tasha don't know what's going on. They both become so hysterical. And to Tasha, she runs to Fahim's house. And I believe that's Jazz's boyfriend. And she's so hysterical. She's crying. He's trying to console her. Angel comes. I'm sorry, not Angel. Jazz comes downstairs. She's all upset. Fahim tells her to go back upstairs in the house while he consoles Tasha. And little does he know, he goes upstairs. Jazz is on the side of the bed crying because her water just broke. So he has to call 911 for her. Then Tasha's downstairs bleeding. She's losing her baby. So he calls Angel, but he know Angel's not going to be much help because Caitlin is gone. So he has to call Kyra to come fix all this. Let's see. Like I said, sadly, Tasha loses her baby. And eventually, her and Angel go on with life, not knowing where Caitlin and Trey are. Until one day, their friend Omar shows up at Tasha's house. And he lets them know that Caitlin and Trey are all right. They basically was going to do a drug deal in Mexico City. And the feds thought they had them. When they got to Mexico City, the feds couldn't find no drug money. They couldn't find no drugs on Caitlin and Trey. So they sent them back to New York City and they lock them up. Tasha and what's his name? Trey, they have a lot of visits because if you read the story, like he the Clark mentions how she sits on Trey's lap and they have sex. You know, she rides his dick and all that. There's all kind of sexual stuff, you know, to make them feel close while he's locked up. Angel, she goes also, but eventually her visits stop because she gets into it with Brittany, the one who called and told Kaylin that she was pregnant. She shows up at the prison, and she's not even on the visitors list. Angel sees her, and she whips that girl ass. And she accuses Kaylin of cheating. Saying, how could you do this to me and all this and that? And he's telling her she's not even on the visitors list. I'm not messing with her. She just showed up here. And the way Brittany got in there, she paid a guy, I think $200 to see Kaylin. He never asked her to come. And Angel eventually finds this out. And Kaylin does the same thing like Trey. He has to let her know who's boss. So he just ignores her. And he ignored her for 2 months. After he got out of prison, him and Trey, he eventually proposes to her in the story. Like I said, Tasha, she loses her first baby, but she winds up having twins named Shaheem and Kareem. And basically, I think was the story. Then Wahida Clark ends the book with an epilogue. In the epilogue, Marvin and Kyra get married. Jazz and Fahim get married. Tasha finds out she's pregnant again. And then Tasha tells Trey that she's pregnant again at Kaylin and Angel's wedding. And at their wedding, a lot of events take place. Like I said, Tasha, she tells Trey that she's pregnant. Angel, her dress doesn't fit anymore, and she's upset by that, and plus she throws up on it. And she fires some of her helpers because she's so upset. When Kaylin gets to her, she tells him that she's pregnant. He's happy, and he lets her know that he's going to take care of things. They're going to still get married. He sends the dress off to be cleaned. Okay? And then another point in the story, at the wedding, Angel and Kaylin's wedding, in the hotel, Tasha and her brother, they're on the elevator, and when the doors open, they find Trey laying on the floor bleeding. So I'm going to have to find out what happened with him in her next book. And this is the really, how should I put it, eye-opener, maybe. You remember in the first book I mentioned that Angel used to date a guy named Keenan, and that a prostitute killed him, or she thought she killed him? Guess who shows up at the wedding? He does. And he tells Tasha's sister, I'm not here for the groom. I'm here for my woman, Angel. And that's how the story ends. He shows up with his boys and they strapped. And that's how the story ends. You know, the book was good, but I really start liking it to the middle. Because I have come across a lot of guys, you know, all they want to do is use you. And in this book, it showed how a woman could be up there, lawyer, doctor, psychiatrist, excuse me. They could find a guy who's not as well-to-do as them, that's willing to take care of them. And I just, you know, I just want to know do guys like that really exist, because that was amazing, this story, you know. And well, my other notes are, how the hell did Keenan survive from being poisoned by that prostitute in the first book? That's one of my questions. And let me think. Another thing I found wrong with this book, I would not tie up with no guy that had a lot of women chasing them. You go out to a party with them, this woman that he used to date there. You go out with him, this woman looking at him. And he is like, you know, guys, when women all into them, you know, they got the show off and everything, not caring how the woman they with may feel. I would like to thank you all for listening to my review. Sorry I went a little fast. I'm gonna have to soon be at work. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and leave your comments down below. I don't know what's the next book I'm going to read. No, I take that back. I know the next book I'm going to read. I'm going to read the third part to this series. First, I said I was going to pause, but I'm just going ahead and read the third book. And I'll be back. Thanks again, and I'll see you in a few weeks. Bye-bye.